The courtroom was cold, unforgiving space, its wooden walls pockmarked with the burden of years and judgments behind the bench. I, Judge Eleanor Harper, wore my robes, the state seal shining like a disciplinary eye above me below. Diane Voss shifted at the defendant's table, her lacquered hair and stiff stance a mask of control. She did not know the woman who was deciding her fate was the same one she'd ridiculed years before, laughing as my nephew's body continued to grow in an ambulance jammed at her hose-locked gate. That memory was a knife in my chest, piercing during sleepless nights and interminable hearings now, while Diane writhed in her seat unconscious of my stare. The irony was nearly savage. She believed she governed her community like a queen, but she was already in the ashes of her reign. I didn't have to scream. My signature would suffice. The air was thick with tension, not only from chilled air conditioning, but from the silent rage I bore Diane's attorney. A young man with weariness carved into his face, looked as though he'd aged 10 years defending her. She, however, sat like royalty, jaw clenched as though this were a small hiccup. The evidence files spoke otherwise: embezzlement, harassment of elderly residents, illegal cameras, phony fines, bylaws twisted into weapons. Her appeal argued procedural mistakes, but her real offense was hubris. She felt the law couldn't catch up to her. She was mistaken. The clerk declared the final motion. Diane's attorney stumbled over poor arguments, her whisper slicing him off in the middle of a sentence. I sat stone-faced, then nodded. Motion denied. Verdict stands. The gavel dropped 3 crisp cracks that rang out like the storm breaking. Diane's eyes narrowed, scanning my face as if familiar with something I didn't give her the opportunity to put me in place. I exited through the side door, my steps intentional, my spine straight. I wasn't only her judge, I was her reckoning by afternoon. I was again wearing jeans and sneakers behind the wheel of my worn sedan, past the HOA gate to them. I was nobody, just a guest in a neighborhood belonging to my sister Sarah. Not me, but I returned frequently, repairing Sarah's ramp, delivering groceries, placing flowers on my nephew Ethan's grave. He'd be 14 now. The guard waved me through, hardly looking at my car. Sarah greeted me outside her small house, her eyes warm but tired. The ramp required paint. I said I'd assist that weekend. She smiled and said coffee. Our silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind that had been created through loss. Words had long since become a luxury while Sarah got settled. I kneeled next to the driveway, tinning to Ethan's beloved rosebush, its thorns outnumbering its bloom. Heavy footfalls approached, click-clack, unmistakable. "Excuse me," Diane's voice sliced through the air, shrill with false authority. "This is HOA property identification, please." I stood slowly, brushing dirt from my gloves. She stood there in her cream blazer, sunglasses perched like a crown clipboard, clutched like a scepter. She didn't recognize me. "I live here," I said calmly. Her eyes narrowed. "Not on record. This is private access, ID or leave." I looked at Sarah's door, then at her. "I'm visiting my sister, assisting with her garden. Is that an issue?" Her chin came up. "You're breaking policy. 6A. No unregistered individuals are able to work on private land." I swallowed a laugh, allowing silence intimidate her. Alternatively, "I'll review that policy. I said you come across very well versed in the rules." She yearned, assuming my tone to be praise. I walked away, feeling her frustration burn behind me. She had no way of knowing I'd already taken away her authority and courier inside. Sarah served coffee, peering out the window. "She disturb you?" she whispered. "A little," I told her. "I've dealt with worse." We drank in silence. Sarah had no idea I was the judge who'd ruined Diane's appeal. I hadn't informed her out of suspicion, but some justice grows best in secret. Like roses and dry ground that evening on my porch, I sat and watched the sunset seep across the heavens somewhere beyond those gates. Diane was likely pacing, plotting her next fine, her next victim. She still believed she was untouchable. She was mistaken. Days later, I sat in a tranquil cafe, the aroma of cinnamon and aged books enveloping me on the other side of the room. Diane presided over 3 HOA sycophants, her voice boisterous, her arms gesticulating. She was excoriating the biased judge who'd ruled against her, threatening to file complaints and reverse the verdict. She had no idea. The judge she damned was stirring cold tea 10 feet away. My phone rang a text from Sarah with an old HOA guest pass. I could use it to walk the neighborhood freely. I looked at it in my pocket, weathered but valid. I didn't have to break laws, I just had to see the truth. Unguarded that week, I walked the HOA's sidewalks, blending in. The houses were pristine white fences, trimmed hedges, welcome signs masking fear, but cracks showed citations taped to trash cans, elderly residents avoiding Diane's automobile, a kid's bicycle chained to please her regulations. I photographed them quietly, not out of revenge, but of evidence. One day I witnessed an elderly man fighting with a decaying mailbox. Diane's SUV pulled up. She rebuked him for breaking code of uniformity, took a photograph, and promised to locate before speeding away. He seemed shattered hands shaking while he attempted to repair the post. I knelt down alongside him, helping him. He waved me off, embarrassed, but I steeled the base anyway. He would not look at me. Those eyes that said it all. Fear went deeper than any bylaw at Sarah's that evening. She gave me a box of Ethan's belongings, drawings, hair clips, a hospital wristband of the day we lost him. The date corresponded to the day Diane's gate procedure held up the ambulance 7 minutes. I could still hear Sarah's voicemail that day, her voice shattering into screams. We never talked of it straight. I pushed the box and went outside. Diane's house remained perfect still, but the air was different. I wasn't helpless any longer. The following morning, I applied the guest pass once more, seeing an out-of-control fire hydrant by a pal's haul of code violation die and ignored. I took a picture. Every stroll uncovered more a broken fence she designated as private discriminatory leasing policies, fanciful fines. Sarah asked why I continued walking, continued observing. I'm tired of being helpless. I told her I can't bring Ethan back, but I can prevent this from occurring again. She hugged me the first time in years. Paperwork landed on my desk. May an appeal from Diane flagged for reassignment. I'd decided on her first, so procedure prohibited me from the second. Her complaints of bias and vendettas occupied pages, but no apology, no remorse. A letter from her attorney caught my eye. She believes someone in the court is looking at her. I closed the file. She was correct. But not as she believed. That afternoon, I assisted Sarah in moving attic boxes, and we discovered Ethan's drawing sawhouse, a smiling sun. A boy with a red cap loss dissolved gradually, but it kept us together. Outside, Diane was taking a photograph of a neighbor's flower bed, berating its unauthorized size. 2 nearby children froze their giggles, dying under her glare. I captured silently. Not to shame, but the document facts require no fanfare. They require light. A phone call from a friend in Community Watch transformed everything, and anonymous tip pictures, dates. Testimonies had prompted an audit. Diane enraged it. She patrolled more. Hung around corners, barked commands. Her paranoia broke her mask one day. She stopped me again, insisting on ID. You again, she snarled. I smiled. Just visiting, no rules broken? Her eyes narrowed, memory flashing. I walked away, her fear. Doing my job, residents started whispering, then speaking. A man thanked me for assisting with the mailbox. A mother hoped Diane would receive what she is due. Diane's memos cautioned against imposters, but her voice became shrill, desperate at Sarah's. She asked if Diane would ever comprehend her harm. No, I said, some never do. Justice doesn't require their remorse. It just needs to occur. I spoke at a legal literacy night utilizing my middle name dress. Simply, the library was full of residents, their questions peeling away Diane's can of control. A woman fined over a door color, a father towed for a visitor's vehicle, an elder denied meeting. Minute they discovered their power. The local newspaper printed a story, residents demand, HOA explanations. Diane's frantic reaction, cameras, lawsuits, charges, only added fuel to the fire. The last HOA meeting was charged. Diane stood firm, but her board collapsed. Residents' questions cut deep. Why her allies were spared fines, why her regulations targeted some. A state investigator stepped forward, reciting her infractions, discrimination. Misappropriation of funds code. Violates the board was under scrutiny. Her leadership was completed. Deanne's eyes landed mine, Yush. She spat. Who are you? I stood displaying my judge's ID. I am Judge Eleanor Harper, who rejected your appeal. The room gasped. Her haughtiness imploded. I turned towards the residents. You have rights. Don't let anyone lie, or else the vote was passed. Diane was gone. She had moved out quietly. Her house sold without her name. Sarah and I repainted her ramp. Green Ethan's cozy color laughter returned to the streets. Flags waved freely at Ethan's grave. I laid roses and whispered, "It's safe now." At Sarah's party, a girl with a red cap chased Bubbles in peace. Settle not closure, but enough Diane had demanded my identity. She got it, not as her enemy, but as her consequence. The neighborhood bloomed, not with rage, but with voices that refused to be silenced.